All right, guys, so we are back, and this is going to be lesson two. And our key points and our objective are going to remain the same. So I'm going to just put them on here so that we can go over them again. And the main thing that I want to talk about is what we're going to be covering now. So now we're going to be talking about nocturnal, mimicry, hibernation, and migration. And we're also going to be talking about how different areas affect how the animals change or how the plants change. So we will be discussing some of these biomes and some of these habitats where these animals actually live. So we have our desert. We do know that it is very hot and that plants and animals have to change in order to be able to survive in this climate and in this weather. We also have different types of plants, and that the plants also have to change in order to be able to survive. So for example, it's mainly cactus and mesquite trees. They have deeper roots that spread further so that they can go ahead and absorb more rainwater. We do know that cactuses are a source of water. They're different than regular plants. They're more spongy. They do have the spines to protect themselves from being eaten by animals because animals need water. And this is what they're going to be looking for mainly in order to be able to get the water when there is very little rainfall. So as you can tell, these plants have adapted from other plants in other locations by having these spines and these spikes so that way animals will stay away from them. Then it's going to come to the nocturnal. So what nocturnal means is they are going to be asleep during the day and they're going to be awake at night. And this happens with bats and some snakes. And that way they can go ahead and protect themselves from the heat. They can protect themselves from predators. And since they have different variations of color, this also helps them blend in the dark at night when they're trying to hunt or they're trying to hide. Then we have our tropical rainforest. What we did remember about our, or what we should remember about our tropical rainforest is that it rains a great deal, more than anywhere else in the world. And because of this, the plants have to form different leaves in order to be able to survive because the water causes damage to roots, causes damage to the leaves, and causes damage to the plants. So they have a drip tip, which you can see right here is this little pointy piece. So as the water falls, it is quickly able to run down and off of the actual leaf. Also in the tropical rainforest, a lot of the trees grow close to each other, which prevents them from having access to sunlight. And reaching the plants at the bottom. So the plants at the bottom have long or larger leaves in order to be able to catch the rays in between the big trees that are surrounding them. In our forest, though, it's different. In the forest, it's not as hot, there is not as much rain. So they have to adapt by losing their leaves and saving their water for the fall because this is when it is the drier season for them and their leaves fall down and then the tree kind of falls asleep and it kind of stays there until the spring so that it can have new leaves and branch out and it can make sure that it survives for the next cycle of the seasons. We also have what is called mimicry. So mimicry is how some animals imitate either some sort of object, some other fish, something that may be poisonous. So some animals, they imitate another in color or shape. So the stonefish looks like an actual stone. So if you're looking at this picture right here, he is mimicking, which means looking the same as, right? A rock that is found in the ocean. And this is helping him be able to survive in his environment because he's able to hide from his predators and he is able to hide from prey. So he's able to whisk up that food really quickly and make sure that he's able to eat. And we also see this in butterflies, and we also see this with caterpillars, and we see this with praying mantises. So we do see this with a lot of other animals as well. And then we also have what skunks do, right? So skunks, they actually have a physical pockets and they actually spray a stinky smell on their predators to make sure that their predators leave them alone. This is also like frogs that spit. This is also different types of animals that they have released chemicals from their body that can be poisonous to people, like the African tree frog. And then we know that the plants in the ocean also have to adapt because there isn't a lot of sun that gets through the water where they can be able to have this rich free environment. So their leaf-like structures are a little bit different and their root structures are very different as well. And they also have some have different kinds of structures that help them float at the top of the ocean, which helps them be able to get more sunlight and more air. And this is called an air bladder, and this is usually found in our algae plants, the ones that are located here and float at the top of the ocean. So whenever you go to the beach, you will see algae, and this is a way that they are able to adapt to their environment so they are able to survive. And then we also have something called migration. So migration is when animals move from one ecosystem to another ecosystem because of the weather, right? And so we see this with dolphins, we see this with birds, we see this with different types of animals that need a warmer climate in order to be able to survive. Ducks, geese, some butterflies, and it's showing how, right, they're able to move from a place that is getting very cold to a place that is warmer. So you will see an excess of dolphins and an excess of different kinds of fish and whales, etc., in our oceans that are closer to the equator, like the Gulf of Mexico and off of California, because they do migrate that way once it starts getting cold. So other ocean fish also have different types of ways that they go ahead and attract prey, as we did see in our do now, in our previous do now with our Nemo clip that we saw where the light was turning on and it was able to attract the different fish. Another one of our ecosystems or our biomes is right our wetlands, and we can see here what is called a mangrove tree, and the roots grow above the ground and spread out in order to be able to get the water from the muddy soil. And there is also a crazy looking fish, which is a walking catfish. And this one can actually come out of the water and walk on dry land with his fins. And I will be placing a video so you guys can see how cool this looks as well. So you will have some questions after this video, so please make sure that you're answering these questions. Do know that these are your first introduction to adaptations, and next week you will have a different lesson on adaptations, which goes more into depth and will look more like a lab. So 1 week is going to be for instruction, and 1 week, of course, is going to be for our labs. So please make sure that you're keeping up with your assignments. And of course, if you have any questions, you can join office hours at any time. So that way you can make sure you fully understand and you can have questions with me one-on-one. I will also be sending some small group invitations in your emails to some students. So please make sure that you are checking your emails weekly. Have a great time, and I can't wait to see you guys next week.